in my own hometown. Stranger.
Howdy folks, Little Johnny in the brewery once again, and today we're brewing up cherry ripe porter. Obviously, living in Young, the cherry capital. It wouldn't be right to not brew at least a beer with some nice fresh local cherries. And I normally brew. I haven't brewed the cherry the last 2 years, I don't think, but previous to that, I try to get a brew out each summer. I've done previously I've done a cherry wheat beer, and I've done a chopped cherry porter previously, both of which were a bit light on the sherry. They had cherry taste, but not a lot. They were both nice beers. The cherry wheat I did for a Christmas beer a few years back, and the chopped cherry porter was, just a standard winter porter, just with the cherries thrown in, just for a little bit of something different. Now, both those times I think I used like 2 kilos of cherries in a batch, and it wasn't really enough to get a lot of flavour. So this time I've gone out and I've bought myself a 5 kilo box of really actually overripe Rons. They were seconds, so I'm going to throw them out because they weren't keeping, but they're beautiful and juicy and soft. There's juice in them, so I think they're going to work really well. So what I'm doing, I'm going to knock out a 15 litre batch. So I'm looking to get a bunch of bottles out of this. I'm not going to worry about putting this in the keg due to the fact that I'm going to want to let it sit around. Then again, that could change between now and when it's done. I may end up sticking it into a keg. But either way, if I do, I'm still going to end up with, at least around 10 or 12 bottles. So that's alright. So, recipe-wise, what I'm looking at: 4 kilo of Golden Promise for the base. Nice deep malty flavour. I want to get plenty of oomph into this. So we're basically starting off with a standard sort of a porter base. So as I said, we're going to go the Golden Promise on the bottom. Tomorrow sort of was the original plan, but I've stuck me back up, and I really don't want to stand for 15 minutes grinding on the mill. So I've changed to Golden Promise because I can get that ready milled at the down at the Country Brewer this morning. There'll be some pale chocolate, 7.5% of the grain bill pale chocolate, 85% for the Golden Promise. Caraaroma, it's about a bit over 4%. I really like what the Caraaroma does in a dark beer. It gives a really nice depth for that little bit of the extra strength in the caramel. It's nice. Some Carafa III, not a lot, a bit under 2% of the mash. And again, it's more for colour and just to give that little bit of depth of the flavour. And a tiny little bit of the old black roasted barley. That's under 1%. And in the whole batch, it's like that's 45 grams in the batch. And again, it's for colour, but it's also they're putting that deeper, roasty type of flavours without going to a full roast. I don't want a lot in there. I don't want to push it towards the stout. I prefer the on that porter side where it's not so roasty, but that will impart a little bit of coffee, which will play nicely with the other stuff. Now, as I said, I've got the 5 kilos of cherries. They're sitting in the freezer. I'll pull them out soon. We'll have a look at them when they go in the thing. I'm going to put 2 blocks of chocolate, 200 grams each. This is Whittakers Dark Ghana. This is chocolate I used on the first batch. Part of the reason I use it because it's a bit cheaper than the other stuff that's getting around. I can get 200 grams for about the same price you're paying for 100 grams of the options. I've used the Lint 72% before, but I found the Whittakers worked really well in that first batch and actually did add a nice tone. But see, when we're really going for that cherry ripe sort of flavour, I want to get plenty of hint in there. I'm going for 2 blocks. So we're going to have 400 grams of chocolate in this batch. That will go into the boil. About 15 minutes in the boil, about the same time you put the wall flock in, they'll go into the boil. And coconut, yeah, again, this is not my chosen method. What I wanted to use was what roasted slivers of coconut. I've had them, I've used them just in like for snacking on, and they've got plenty of flavour. But they're bloody dear. It was about $3.50 or $3 or something for 40 grams. And I really think, you know, I've never used coconut in a beer before, but reading other people's experiences, seems that you need a fair whack to get in there. And given that, again, cherry ripe, coconut's a big part of the flavour, I didn't want to muck around. So what I've done is I've got half a kilo of just shredded coconut. That I'm hoping will be fine, and I'm going to put that in the mash. Why? Don't particularly know why, but I think it'll probably work better in the mash than just going straight in the boil, and hopefully that'll extract a good amount of flavour out of that. And part of the reason is I really don't know how this will go, trying to drain the actual kettle if that's in there. I mean, it's going to be 5 kilos of cherries sitting in there. The drain pipe's going to be covered with the cherries as it is. I don't think I really need this sort of stuff, which is going to, I really would expect to turn to mush in the boil, in there clogging everything up. The cherries I know will stay relatively intact. They'll release their juices, but the cherry itself will stay intact. There won't be a lot of muck, and I should be able to drain without any problem. So that's all in the mash. Cherries are there. So I'm just waiting at the moment. I've got the water coming up the temp, and we'll pop that in. And while that's happening, I'm just going to go grab a little bit of salts here. I'm going to put in, give it a good whack of magnesium. I want to get the hardness up a little bit. A little bit of gypsum, and as I started on the last brew, and I talked about it at that time, I'll throw a little bit of the vitamin C in there just to make sure we've got rid of the chlorine out of the water because of the wall flock in the boil. And I'm not going to worry about any anything else. That's it. So just basic magnesium. So Epsom salt, a bit of gypsum. Actually, I might throw a little bit of calcium carbonate in there as well, but it won't be a lot. The magnesium is going to be the driving force with this one. Righto, so I'll get on with that, and we'll be back when we're got the mashing things going on. Righto, folks. Nearly at a mashing temp on our water. I'm just about to drop the cherries into the boil kettle just to let them start going in and just a little bit of time. Before I just pull them out. So, 5 kilo box of Ron's cherries. They weren't from Ron, I think they were from an Afghan fella. His name might have been Ron. Anyway, Ron's, yeah, very old cherry variety. Anybody knows cherries has heard of Ron's. These are they're nice dark cherry. And I said these are seconds. When you go through the box, you can find there's a couple of daggy looking tops on them. I did spot one or two in here that sort of had a little bit of a split in them. But for the most part, these are a nice big solid cherry. Now, I bought these, I think it was actually Christmas Eve I went out and got these. And they've been in the freezer, in the chest freezer since. Last time I used the cherry, I just used them fresh. Apparently, from reading, freezing the cherries, or freezing any fruit, helps to damage the structure of the the walls of the fruit itself, which helps with the extraction of the juices and the flavours. So, this time I've frozen them. So I'm going to dump these into the boil kettle just so they can start pouring out. They go in stems and all. Whether that imparts any sort of flavour, I don't know. I'm certainly not going to pick the stems off 5 kilos of cherries before putting them in there. I don't think there was any adverse effect last time, and I've never seen anybody sort of say that you shouldn't do it, so I'm going to go and throw them in. Righto folks, we're up to mash temperature. I'm looking to mash this batch at around 65, middle of the road. I don't want it thin, I don't want it too much body. I think there'll be a bit of body from the residual sugars. So 65 is our target, so we're sitting on about 67, 68 at the moment. So we're getting in. Now, as I said, 15 litre batch. So I've got 14 litres to mash in with. And I think off the top of my head I'll be doing a sparge with about 15 litres, 15.5 litres, somewhere around there. And today, just for something a bit different, I'm going to do just a full batch sparge. I'm not going to do a fly sparge on this one. And again, I think with the quicker, because I'm going to put the coconut into the mash, I'm a bit worried that it might get a little bit pulpy and a little bit thick and murky, and I think it may struggle to drain if I go with a fly sparge. I think I'm going to have trouble getting the wort out. So if I go a batch sparge, it will fill it up, and I think that will hopefully eradicate any problems. So that's our golden promise in. Now they've got the specialty grains in here, so let's just throw them all in together. Now, I'm going again a little bit different with this too. Normally with my with the dark grains, particularly the Carafa and the roast barley, the black, I would normally put that in with about 10 minutes left of the mash. Oh, that smells amazing. It smells like a bloody cappuccino and coffee. Oh, yeah. So, as I was saying, yeah, I normally put them in towards the end, just to try and avoiding any astringent flavours or any harshness that those sort of grains can impart. But again, because it's only a small portion of the brew, it's not a big one, I'm using more chocolate for the darkness and the depth in this one, then I'm pretty confident that it's not going to be too much of an issue. Give this a good mash here, good mix in. So yeah, so this will sit for 40 minutes, and then I will do a quick ramp up from 65 to 72, and then I will add the 15 litres to bring it to 75. Give it 10 minutes at that point, and then drain to the kettle and do the boil. So it's going to be fairly straightforward, no big lots of mucking around. Okay, so that's our grain in. And now we'll get the coconut in. Now, I would certainly expect with this brew, come the end of the day, that I'm not going to get any, I'm not going to have head of any kind on this brew. Too many oils. Between the coconut, which obviously has oil, the chocolate, with the fats that are in there. I certainly know last time I used the straight chocolate I didn't really get much in the way of head. So I'd be expecting much the same in this one. So, yeah. If you're one of those people that's, got to have a head on their beer, and it's got to last at the bottom of the glass and it's all bloody about how the bloody thing looks, then this isn't your kind of brew. because this is going to be essentially a flat beer with an oily slick on top of it. It's going to look like the Exxon Valdez went cruising by and dumped all through your beer, because a lot of stuff in here is going to knock your head around. I said, I don't care. Heads got nothing to do with how a beer tastes, and this beer is going to be all about how it tastes. So that's it. Once that's it, to recirculate them nicely. Adjust my temperature back. So bring this back to. Okay, so that's set now for 65, so that'll settle there nicely. I'll leave that run for a bit. So, vital numbers. Expected gravity is, oh, I don't bloody know, 1051 I think it was. I'll have to have a look. I can't remember. 5.3% alcohol, 5.4, that sort of range is what I'm expecting to get to in the keg. So I think it's around 1050, 1051 expected gravity. So, but let him run for now. We'll come back and have a bit, look at it a bit later on. Righto, so the mash is finished, and we're draining onto the kettle. And you can see there all the coconut in there. Drain off down there. Yeah, you can't really see. The coconut cherries are all under there, and you can start to see already. You can see the coconut oil floating around on the top. So we'll boil that up and back when putting hops and stuff in. So water's coming up to a boil. We've transferred to the kettle. It's going to take a little bit longer than normal because obviously with all the frozen cherries in there, it's dropped the temperature of the wort back considerably. But it's come, so we'll knock up some hops. So what I'm looking at the hops, because we're going all chocolate and the cherry ripe and coconut, we want that to be our big flavour component. So we're not going to go anywhere, anything silly with the hops. We want enough to, obviously, for a good bittering charge, and just enough up the back to support the coconut and the cherries. So all EKG up front, 28 grams I've gone with. In this case it's 1.9 grams a litre. It's going to give me around 26 IBUs, and then I'll go in at 60 minutes. Doing a 60-minute boil on this one, and then I'm going to do 20 grams of the EKG, so double dose of the Goldings, and I'm going to do that with 10 minutes left in the boil. And that's going to be everything I've got here, and that last 10 minutes is going to, so it's 1.3 grams a litre. And it's going to give me, I think my memory was around about 5.5, 6 IBUs, total IBUs of 31.7, so about 26 for the bittering, about 6 for that late addition, and that's it. That's the hops. Nothing simple, no flame out, no dry. I said we just want enough hops to have a base there for everything else to work off. So at this point in time, coconut's in, it's gone through the mash. As I said, it smelled really good. So hopefully that's imparted its flavour. I didn't actually taste either wort yet. Cherries are in the boil, so they're underway. So I've got most of it. And the only thing left then is the chocolate to go in at 15 minutes. Righto, so we've come to a boil. And you see the cherries have all popped to the top as if run out. So I don't like my chances of getting hop bag in there. So hops are just going to go in freewheeling. And of course the stir. That'll settle back down, so that's good. So we'll boil that for another 45 minutes now before we'll come back and add the chocolate and the next of our hop. Righto, so we've got 15 minutes to go on the boil, and that means it's time to add our chocolate, which I've got here, just broken up into small bits if I can. Yeah. And throw a couple of those in. And you just want to give it a bit of a mix as you're going, just to, as I said before, just to make sure it's not sticking to the bottom. Just a couple to go. It's stinking hot today. It's 38 degrees outside. It's about 32 here in the shed. The chocolate's fairly soft already, so it's getting into a melt. It's melting pretty quickly. Makes my job a bit easier. So obviously we'll do that with all that chocolate, and then we'll, by the time that's done, it'll be time for the last hop addition, and then 10 minutes till flame out and start cooling. Rightio. So we've boil's finished, whirlpool's done, cooling's done. I'm just starting to transfer to the fermenter. Now I'm hoping we'll get our target 15 litres. Got the kettle here. Can't quite read. I've got somewhere around 22 and a half litres sitting in the kettle. I'm estimating I'm going to lose about 7 litres to cherries, basically. To get out 15 litres. Now, it's come up it's very, very chocolatey, very coming out of the fermenter here, which is, you know, kettle's just here, it's going to the fermenter. It's looking quite dark. Let's grab a hydro. You can see there. It's fairly dark, which is what I was expecting. During the boil, towards the end of the boil, there was a distinct reddish tinge, obviously from the cherries. And I did a check with the refractometer. The boil, it gave me 1061. I said I was expecting 1055, but that's not accounting for the cherries or the chocolate, adding extra sugar. Hydro there, sitting on about 1054, and temperature's still 35, so it's probably going to be somewhere around 1058 once it's cooled to 1057, 1058. So picked up a couple of points from the cherries and the chocolate, but get a clearer reading a bit later. As I said, looks like it's sitting on about 34 degrees. I couldn't get it any cooler with the tap water. Obviously it's between 38 degrees all day, so the old tap water's not much better. And there's definitely cherries there and chocolate. Very chocolatey on the nose as well. they're definitely there. The three flavours are there. The cherry seems a little. I don't know what. It's almost a medicinal sort of, not medicinal, but I think it's just because it's so strong. But we'll see how that turns out. As I said, the last batch I did was a full-size batch. It's only 15 litres, so I mean it's a considerable jump up with the amount of cherries in this batch. Again, this is obviously very experimental, but I think give it, this is a brew that's going to obviously sit for a while and have time to age, so I think that'll be fine. Now, yeast-wise, I've gone for 2 packs of Nottingham, which I've got here at the moment, rehydrating. And obviously this is going to have to go in the fridge for a while, so it won't pitch quite yet, but it is, like I said, it's about 32 degrees here in the shed at the moment, so the temperature difference isn't going to be far off, and I'm not too worried if I pitch this around the 30 mark. Going straight in the fridge, it'll be cool before the yeast really starts kicking off. Plan was to use White Labs 007 dry London Ale, which I had in the fridge, but it's sitting on the stir plate in the kitchen at the moment. It hasn't. It's just starting to show signs of waking up at the moment, but looking at it, it's going to take at least another 12 to 24 hours in this phase, and then it's going to need a second growth phase to have anywhere near enough to pitch onto this size, this gravity. So I'll just let it go through its first growth phase, and I'll cultivate it off, take it off and store it away and use it down the track. I should have had it on a day earlier, and just with things going on, I just sort of didn't get around to it. So, but I thought it might have fired up a little bit quicker. It's only, I think it's 6 months old, but so it means that past is best. But we'll see. But I had the 2 Nottinghams there, so I wasn't too worried. So I've gone with the Notto instead. So just letting that rehydrate nicely, and I'll pitch that. So I've got plenty there. 2 11-gram packets, so plenty of cells to work with. So that's it. That's the cherry ripe porter. So the ingredients are there. I'll stick them in. They'll be down in the comments below. I'll list the ingredients and what I did for the batch. But as I said, I've gone through each different ingredient as we've gone through. So it's all there if you want to go back and look at it. I expect this one to take probably 3 weeks before it's in bottles. I'm not going to keg. I might. But at the moment the plan is to put this one all in the bottles. So it's going to be probably 3 months before I even look at cracking one. Might do one a little bit early, but we're not going to know too soon how this one's going. But obviously we'll know. I'll know from fermenter samples as I go how it's travelling. But I've got we'll see how we go. I'm hoping it's going to turn out alright. Smells good. It's got flavours. It's got the flavours there we're looking for. So if you have any questions, ask them. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. There's more of this stuff going on. As I said, still got this fermenter kit to make at some stage over the coming weeks. Other thing, there's always things going on. There's always experiments going on. We're always trying new stuff. So keep looking through other stuff. Plenty of things to learn. Alright. So that's me for the day. I'm going to call it an end to the day. As always, you know how to put a fermenter into a fridge and how to that's going everything. This one I'm going to brew at 18 degrees. I don't want to push any fruity type flavours. I've never used Nottingham before. It does record to be relatively clean yeast, fairly neutral. But I don't want to push it into anywhere where it's going to throw any sort of flavours that might interfere with that cherry and the coconut that we're trying to attenuate. So keep it at 18, keep it nice and safe. So that's me for the day. I'm going to finish this one off. Might have myself another beer, maybe even another swim before I head to bed, because it's still bloody hot. So till I'm looking at this again, we're doing some more mucking around or learning something. Good brewing.